Parliament. The Prince and Princess of Wales have said they are incredibly sad to hear of the death of an RAF pilot after his Spitfire crashed into a field in Lincolnshire. The Ministry of Defence has described the incident, which took place near RAF Coningsby, as a tragic accident. Police and emergency services responded just before 1:20 this afternoon, and the pilot, who has not yet been named, was declared dead at the scene. Now, it's thought that the aircraft was taking part in a Battle of Britain memorial event. The man's family has been informed, and an investigation is now underway. Rishi Sunak has described the pilot's death as awful news, while Sir Keir Starmer said he was deeply saddened. Sir Ed Davey has claimed that the Lib Dems are way more in tune with young voters after Sir Keir Starmer pledged to lower the voting age to 16. Sir Ed pointed to his party's position on housing, Gaza and the European Union as examples of their youth appeal. The major parties have been pitching their messages to voters on this, the first weekend of the election campaign. Speaking to reporters, the Labour leader said young people deserve to have their say.
16 and 17-year-olds voting, they can go out and work, they can serve in our armed forces, and of course if they are out and working they pay tax. And therefore they should have a say over how the money they're paying in is being used. So yes, I want to see that vote for 16 and 17-year-olds. If you can work, if you can pay tax, if you can serve in your armed forces, then you ought to be able to vote.
Bit of breaking news. A 17-year-old boy has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a 16-year-old boy was stabbed to death in Hayes, West London. The victim has been named as Kamari Johnson. Met Police says officers were called around 1:30 p.m. on Friday. The suspect was arrested this evening and remains in custody. Police are appealing for anyone who may have footage of the incident to come forward. And finally, a 17-year-old boy from Lancashire remains in custody after being arrested on suspicion of murder after a woman was found dead on a beach in Bournemouth late last night. Dorset Police saying that they were called to reports of two women stabbed on Durley Chine Beach at around 11:45. A 34-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene. A 38-year-old was taken to hospital with serious injuries. Police say she continues to receive treatment there. Right, for all the latest stories, sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts. Time now for our headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at Sunday's newspapers through the prism of three comedians. I'm Josh Howie, and if they ever did make a British remake of Bad Boys, surely these two would be a shoo-in. It's Bruce Devlin and Nick Dixon. Hey, guys.
Good evening.
Which one would you be, Will Smith or
I don't think I've seen that. I'd be the other one. Did you say Beaches or Bad Boys?
You've never seen Bad Boys?
It's a classic buddy comedy starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
Comedy.
It's a cop buddy movie in the classic genre.
Yes, and there's Bad Boys 2, and then there's going to be Bad Boys 3, which is very exciting.
Yeah, and it's quite similar because they don't like each other. That's what he's going with.
Oh, wow.
And one's much more famous and beloved.
What, 3 minutes... Who? Who? You were just telling me about your detritus on your chest. I'd relax.
That's off air. That's off air.
I mean, I just threw it in randomly, but I am very impressed with you, Nick, that you managed to actually genuinely draw some sort of parallel.
I got good material out of it, Josh. Throw me anything, I'll work with it.
Boom, all right, let's keep that energy going for the rest of the show. We're going to have a quick look at the front pages first. We have the Mail on Sunday. Rishi, I'll bring back national service. The Sunday Telegraph, PM, I will bring back national service. The Observer, Reeves slams reckless Sunak over 64 billion tax cut pledge. The Sunday Times, Tory plan for all 18-year-olds to do national service. The Sunday Express, Rishi, I'll bring in national service. I'm guessing that he won the Sunday papers there. And finally, the Daily Star, Sunday, did the earth move for me? And those were your front pages. Well, Bruce, this is the story that most of the newspapers have gone with. Tell us what the Mail is saying.
Is it about Rishi bringing back national service.
It just happens to be about this.
Yeah,
Incredible quiz.
So what he has said was that he's going to do two things. School leavers will either be able to enrol on a 12-month placement or do some kind of volunteering on a monthly basis in their community.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily sure that anyone's going to listen, considering that he wouldn't use an umbrella. He doesn't seem necessarily...
You don't think that he's now worthy of the respect? He hasn't won, even though he wears Adidas trainers. He's a cool dude.
Do you think he is?
No.
No.
Obviously
No.
not.
No. I don't think anyone's going to listen. Would you?
So you don't think this is a vote winner? It's not whether it's mandatory. That's what the word mandatory is. They have to do it.
No. I understand what the word means. I'm fat, not stupid. But yes, I just don't think people are going to go for it. Do you?
Well,
would you want one of your children to do it?
I think I actually would. I mean, there's an argument, Nick, isn't there, that this kind of kills a lot of birds with one stone. We have a shortage in the army. There's the idea that this would bring together national unity. This is also would get people, those who go for the voluntary stuff, that's kind of unpaid labour. There's nothing wrong with it in principle. It just feels a bit like one of those things that Tories occasionally throw out, like, oh, we'll bring back grammar schools. I mean, I'd love it if they did, but they won't. This is a bit similar. It's like, oh, national service, that'll get a few older people voting Tory. It's just one of those sound bites. It's not very serious. It's kind of like the smoking ban. It's not serious. You focus on immigration, the economy, the NHS. This is what people are concerned about, as we will come up in a story later. Those are people's main concerns. It's very kind of Rishi, just sort of whack-a-mole politics. And also there's a sinister undertone to it, which is that Andrew Bridgen claimed the other day that we're already at war with Russia. So every time I hear these kind of war-type things, I think, are they sort of softening us up for the revelation that we're going to be in a war with Russia?
What's the smoking ban?
Oh, well, he wanted to ban smoking. Now he's got rid of it because he doesn't have time because he's, as it says here, surprised himself with his own staff election. So he wanted to ban smoking, he's got rid of it. Oh, yeah. It's just a bit sort of token is what I mean. Oh, national service. It's very kind of this Rishi government, very kind of hit and miss tokenism nonsense. It's not something that people have been talking about before, and it certainly isn't something that people are clamouring for, as you say, in terms of people's needs, housing, the NHS. But I wonder if it will resonate. And, of course, the genius about it is that the people who don't want it to happen, i.e. 17-year-olds, can't vote. Of course, we'll get on to that in a second. No, well, there we go. Right, moving on to the Observer now, Nick. Yeah, they've got Reeves. Well, firstly, they've got Man United winning. Let's just say that with a brilliant 2-1 victory against Man City. The FA Cup, Josh. The FA Cup. Rugby. Against Man City, you have all the money, all the dodgy financial fair play, and good old Man United beat them 2-1. And though Eric Ten Hag may still be sacked because it's a tough old game. All I'm hearing is blah, blah, blah. It's like me smashing headliners, but I have to be sacked anyway. It's just kind of unfair. It's like he's won the FA Cup, but he may be sacked and replaced anyway. Okay. But that's the football. Then we've got Reeves slams reckless Sunak over 64 billion tax cut pledges. So Reeves is playing the I'm sensible card, I'm going to be the prudent one, and she's comparing Rishi to Liz Truss, because obviously Rishi's come out with a load of vague tax stuff last minute, and Hunt has. The things in themselves are not bad, like getting rid of inheritance tax would be good. Green levies, they're going to scrap 4 billion of green levies. I'm for that without even knowing what they are. But she's obviously just going to say, well, you're rushing like Truss, and that's quite a sort of damning thing you can say now, in the post-Truss era. Never rush like Truss. Exactly. Fools rush in. No, but I think we should make it.
A hashtag.
Fools trust in. Bruce, normally in traditional elections, it's always Tories who seem to be slamming into Labour for their fiscal responsibilities. Certainly that's where it was in 2019, free board brand and all these other ideas. Now it's the other way around.
But isn't the whole kind of electoral debate just them slamming into each other?
I mean, it is, but usually this is the Tories. The economy is the one thing that Tories will be able to successfully.
Well, it was a friend of mine that had said that what people will forget in the upcoming election is that the Tories' fiscal policies are beginning to work, and then they think when Labour get in, Labour will take credit for that. So, well, the argument. What do you think, Nick? Is it that that's Tory? Is it Sunak? Can he claim some responsibility for that, or is it just energy prices have dropped? Yeah, well, he's claiming, isn't he? I've halved inflation, so that's the claim. But yes, many people argue that was going to happen anyway. Yeah. So we'll see. All right. Well, let's go on to the Sunday Times, Nick. So they have, of course, the National Service again, and they've got a picture of Carrie Fisher as well from Star Wars, but they've also, and Man United, but they've also got Streeting will cut out the cultural rot in NHS. This is Wes Streeting, who, of course, he survived cancer and so on. He knows a bit about the NHS.
And he's able to attack the NHS because he's Labour and he's not the nasty party, the Tories, who aren't allowed to do anything because everyone's like, oh, they want to privatise your nan or whatever. But he's allowed to do it. So he talks about quite an interesting thing that he had a phone call saying, from the NHS saying, can you stop going on about all these waiting lists and people dying? Not because it wasn't happening, but because it was their 74th birthday and they didn't want it spoiled. So he's saying this is completely wrong and we need to get rid of this. We need to have radical candour, get rid of what he calls a denialism. And I would completely agree with this. He talks about it as well. He says we need a reformation of the national religion. I'm not sure how much irony he says that with, because in the past he's criticised us treating it like a national religion. So I guess that's a little bit of snark, maybe, saying that we shouldn't be treating it as a national religion, which of course we shouldn't.
What is the national religion?
Well, it's meant to be it's meant to be the Church of England, but it's actually the NHS, and as far as I can tell, and wokeness, I think.
Wokeness.
Yeah, that's what we say on this channel.
Right.
I know you don't say that as much.
It's interesting that you say that he's allowed to say this because he's Labour, but actually he's very much playing against a core part of the Labour vote who see any threat to the NHS, and in terms of Wes Streeting just being quite adult about it, like there will have to be change, there will have to be outsourcing to some, there already has been to some private companies, and there are those on the left who see him as this is a massive betrayal, Bruce. But is that candour actually something that most people would respond to?
I think so, because I think the NHS isn't what it was when it was conceived, if you see what I mean. It's very different and it's under an incredible amount of pressure and stuff. So if you are going to have to outsource stuff, well, just be honest about it. It's a bit like when people were worried about the horse meat and lasagna.
God, those are a tough one.
Those were the days, but yeah, just say what's in the lasagna, so just say what's happening in the NHS.
I mean, that's a really good point.
And they do sell horse lasagna in the hospital still. Not sell, they give it to you. They make you eat it.
Yeah, well, let's continue this analogy. Nick, it seems like there are many institutions who are still trying to feed us horse meat. It's not just the NHS.
Yes. No, it's all our institutions, you could argue, many. So, yeah, it's absolutely... But my point is simply that Labour has more political capital to criticise the NHS because they're not perceived as the nasty party who wants to privatise everything.
But
I see your point.
They haven't been in control for the last 14 years as well, so...
Yeah, yes.
And under Labour, the NHS wasn't...
But let's see if they actually do it, because so far all anyone's ever done with the NHS is pump more money into it. So let's see if they can actually reform it.
But that did work in Tony Blair's...
Did it?
Yeah, it did. The waiting list went way down. Their investment worked.
There was that old clip, to be fair, wasn't there, about people complaining about the times being too short. Did you remember on question that? The waiting lists were too short and they were complaining because it was confusing.
I better get my shoes on and the doctor wants to see me. Oh, yeah, it'd be nice if that happened again. And finally, Bruce, what are the Daily Star going with?
Well, this is amazing. Quick 10-minute bonk gave me massive orgasm so intense I ended up with amnesia. This is to do with a guy called Mick Thacker.
Where am I?
But now let's get to the story.
Right, OK. So Mick Thacker, which does sound like an adult entertainment name, was shocked when his partner, Polly Fisher, this could be a hoax, I don't know, has sudden memory loss after they shared a horizontal refreshment, and it has left doctors utterly baffled. So she enjoyed herself so much she had no idea where she was.
But would she then wake up and go, who are you, and did I consent to this?
Wow, I didn't see that coming.
I figured this out. This is why all my ex-girlfriends have denied that I exist. They've got amnesia. They forgot. Come on, that's gold. Even Bruce will never laugh. Inside, he's laughing at that. Sorry? Plural.
He's surprised that you're not gay.
Because I'm so good-looking and stylish.
Oh,
I got it.
So true.
I got it. I know, it's just the band.
I'm on fire tonight. I had a migraine all day, but I'm still on fire. It's giving me special powers.
It's flowing. I love it. Right, that's it for Sunday's Front Pages. In the next section, we find out what's inside them with Weaning Britain, Mumsnet targeted, and there's something about the Lib Dems. No, please, do come back.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, Welsh farmer Gareth Wyn-Jones is a first-language Welsh speaker and joins us now. Gareth, I mean, a lot of people will be thinking, hang on, this guy is a Welsh teacher. He speaks English. He knew what was on the parking ticket. He's just trying to make a point. He's being a prat, isn't he?
No, hey, come on, mate. I'm a first language Welsh. It's important that we watch after our language and, you know, that everything's bilingual. For us in Wales, you wouldn't go to France and expect your ticket to be in English, would you? You know, English is the most spoken language, but let's watch after these small languages. It's part of our cultural So, you know, I take my hat off to the guy. Fair play to him for go out and to fight this. But what it's done is put it onto the mainstream media, and you're talking about it, even that you're calling him of that. You know, at least we're having a discussion about it, and it's putting the Welsh language in the forefront. And,
so,
you know,
Gareth,
speaking Welsh is important.
Yeah, so Gareth, this is a matter of principle. Is there a sense that the Welsh language is being eradicated in Wales? Is this something that the Welsh people need to rise up against?
Well, Welsh government are trying to, you know, bring a lot more Welsh speaking into our daily life and teach people how to speak Welsh. Well, everything should be bilingual then. And I think, you know, it should start with government. So government should be putting pressure on these companies to make sure everything is bilingual. So I get behind this guy. Fair play to him. It's a good stance, and it puts it in the public eye. Let's have everything in both languages, especially Welsh, because that's my first language. And I'm not
if I was Welsh, if I were Welsh, I think I would agree with you. I think I would agree with you, Gareth.
It depends if you come from Wrexham.
I'm Mark Dolan, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday nights on GB News. From 6, Neil Oliver. At 7, it's Free Speech Nation with Andrew Doyle. At 9, Mark Dolan. And at 11, get set for the week ahead with headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Patrick Christie's. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look at Sunday's newspapers with me, Josh Howie, and down on the train from Scotland, Bruce Devlin, and down from the north, London, is Nick Dixon. And we are hosting a night with the Headliners live, and you can join us for an evening of comedy with Andrew Doyle, Leo Kerr, Simon Evans, and me. For more information, scan the QR code here or go on the screen and visit gbnews.com. Right, Bruce, Sunday Telegraph first. And New Labour has a new deal that's new.
I think it's new, or it might just be rebranding. So Labour rebrands New Deal, so that would suggest that it has been a previous deal, if you see what I mean. Do you see where I'm going? To soothe businesses and seal core vote. Angela Rayner, who is, I believe, a very keen property developer, is the architect, funnily enough, of these plans, and Sir Keir Starmer, who is seeking to avert Tory attacks. Sir Keir Starmer has renamed Labour's flagship package of trade union and workers' rights reforms as he seeks to sharpen his economic message and reassure businesses and swing voters.
So it seems to be, Nick, that the crux of this is the balance between wanting to keep the unions happy or win them over, and also keeping business happy, right?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, yes, Angela Rayner being the architect, immediate red flag, because she doesn't even know which house she lives in. So there's that. And then there's this core message of making the work pay is also an attempt to rob the Conservatives of their clothes, something else I also don't want to see.
Well, it depends on which one.
That's a good point, actually. Let's not get into... I will not cover it, because I'll probably be on the channel. I'll be accused of misogyny. One of the men.
Some do have quite a feminine energy.
How dare you? I'm from the north. Anyway, the point is, it's kind of Rayner versus Reeves. Reeves wants to be more responsible and, you know, she's the new Thatcher, whereas Rayner wants to keep with the core of this mad lefty union stuff. That was my take on it.
Yeah,
and they've given it a rubbish name as well. New Deal for Working People has become Labour's plan to make work pay. It's just sort of ridiculously on the nose.
Off the top. Just call it give people money.
Yeah, it's very Starmer. This is Labour's plan to give you money in your pocket if you want.
As long as you work, you might get more money.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you work, you'll get paid. So why do they even have to set it up as a thing?
I don't. But the thing that some of these things seem sensible to me. This thing about unfair dismissal. And sick pay, but in terms of day one rights, but they've dropped the maternity and paternity leave. And I think that, as we have talked a few times on the show about the looming crisis of, lack of fertility or lack of babies basically being born, that kind of stuff I don't think is particularly helpful, Nick. I mean, you know what I mean.
Not really.
Come on, help me out.
Trying to conceive at the moment.
Yeah, well, I just saw now when he said babies being born.
Yeah, you know that this is the situation. This is something that Western countries.
The catastrophically low birth rates. Yeah.
And to basically solidify and extend paternity and maternity leave is something that would
be good. Yeah, we need to encourage
instead of they've taken it out.
Yeah, no, that is a mistake. We need to encourage child rearing wherever possible and bearing and what's it called when you have children? Yeah, all the stages of it. Birth.
There we go. God, if we this is just like a history. This is like being one of those gender
the migraine kicked back in and I zoned out. Sorry.
I know you did. It was like, well, you just caught. Was something about
it was the I get spells. I'm like a woman in a 19th century novel.
In my eyes for a second. It was weird. Right. more Telegraph and Nick. It's interesting to see them come out so sort of pro immigration, really.
Yeah, it's why weaning Britain off foreign workers could come at a high price. Quite a weird way of putting it, weaning off. But yeah, I mean, this is the idea that we've needed immigration, to plug gaps in the labour market, which I've never really agreed with. We were fine before, but yes, you might cite the birth rate and say, well, that's what the problem is. But 40% of the country says that immigration is the biggest issue, and that's just behind the economy and health, as I mentioned earlier. And at the last election, it was only 1 in 5. So this is a massive increase, obviously because immigration has reached absurd levels. 764,000 net arrivals in 2022, only went down to 685,000 in 2023. So this is obviously the problem facing the country. And Labour have only promised to get it down to the hundreds of thousands, a couple of 100,000 a year, still way too high for most people.
But we're talking net migration in terms of people leaving, isn't it? It's the balance of people leaving and people coming.
No, net migration is net numbers coming in.
It's just on that.
Yeah. I mean, that's why that's catastrophically high. I mean, that's net arrivals. That's not gross arrivals. I mean, a certain amount go back, but that's net. That means 1 million came in, but several 100,000 went back. But that still left you with a net of 764,000. That's what that means. So that's incredible. So yeah, but the idea that it's this question: do we need foreign workers? Will British people not do the jobs, etc. I always question that, but that is the claim, of course.
I don't think British people will do the jobs.
Would you do them?
Well, what job?
Well, we're barely doing it here.
No, exactly. I wouldn't do this, and I'm British, so no.
Well, look, Nick, I know you know about this stuff. Could you answer me this question?
No.
Do you think that the country will be worse off with less migration?
No, it'd be better.
Do you think there'd be what this article is arguing, that it will come at a high price to this country?
Oh, OK. So now now you're getting into different kinds of price. So Paul Morland, who's an expert on this, talks about the 3 E's. He talks about egotism, by which he means the refusal to have children. Then there's economic growth, and then there's what he calls ethnic continuity. So someone like Japan has said, right, we only want Japanese people. Never mind the economic growth. We just won't have any immigration. Now England has sacrificed that. We've sacrificed a certain amount of cultural cohesion because we've said, OK, we don't really want to have that many children, but we want to keep our economic growth, so we've got to sacrifice. So his theory is you have to sacrifice one of these. Yeah. Okay. And so that's what we've done. But I'm questioning whether it's even led to this economic growth. People like Douglas Murray in Strange Death of Europe questions this. GDP per capita might have gone up. No, GDP total might have gone up, but GDP per capita has gone down.
Yeah, well, that's what it says here. But the argument of this article is that it's going to come at a higher price.
They're talking about how are we going to... We've got used to it. This is why they say weaned off. So there would be an adjustment period where people are used to low prices, low wages, and it's this kind of archetypal thing. You have your cleaner or whatever. It's this kind of Remainer rhetoric, but we just have to readjust, which I think we would.
It's not just that. There's unintended consequences in terms of companies relocating because they can't afford the new thresholds that have been put there to restrict immigration. Now they can't afford to pay that, so they're going to move those factories to... Right. So there are bigger ramifications here.
But you could remove regulations, absurd amount of regulations on business and minimum wage and so on.
All right, well, look, we tried to get deep on something.
I think we did quite well.
Yeah, all right, good, very good. Right, moving on to the Sunday Times then. Bruce, have the Lib Dems got the painters in?
Well, I don't know if that's a euphemism, but what I did think was orange. They described themselves as an orange wave. I thought they were more a mustard colour.
No one ever seems to be able to get that.
Yellow. Anyway, basically, Sir Ed Davey has said that they're going to come good in the election. And I think that's a lot to do with, in council elections, they have taken a lot of councils from Conservative strongholds.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, they talk here about this being kind of a long-term strategy where they have just been focusing on these 90 seats, the so-called blue wall. Is that strategy going to work?
It could work, which is quite disturbing to me, because I don't think... They're talking about the Surrey shufflers or squeezers, which is weird. And they're trying to target the socially liberal, economically conservative people who, you know, they vote Tory, but they could go Lib Dem. But do they realise what the Lib Dems are these days? I mean, that made sense in the past, when it was old, you know, Paddy Ashdown and stuff. But I think the Lib Dems changed. They freaked out about Trump, even in the cable era. Then they had the ultra-woke Joe Swinson. Now, you have local... You might like your local candidate. Back home, we had Tim Farron, who was well-loved, and then became the leader. They got rid of him because he was a Christian. But they become so woke now. You know, Ed Davey thinks women have penises. So I think, do you know what you're voting for? It's a protest vote. It's, you know, saying we're sick of the Tories. As it even says here, people are, 1 in 3 are motivated by desire to get rid of the Tories. So it's pretty straightforward. People are going to tactically vote. They might lend their vote from Labour, which 16% of voters are prepared to do, and they just want to get rid of the Tories at all costs. And for some reason, they want the Lib Dems, but the Lib Dems are not... I think, you know, they're not what they used to be.
Yeah,
they're a radical left party.
I mean, how do the Lib Dems do in Scotland?
The guy, is it Alex Cole-Hamilton? I think a lot of people, the area South Queensferry, which is just outside Edinburgh, that's a Liberal Democrat stronghold, as with some places outside of St Andrews in the East Neuk of Fife. So they are seen as credible, and people do vote for them. So, yeah, I don't think they're a complete busted flush.
Yeah, well, this is going to be interesting to see if they can return to the kind of numbers they had.
Yes.
Pre-what, 2011?
Yeah.
Yes, when they all... Or after... Oh, sorry, 2017? When does it all fall apart, basically, when they...
Well, they did the coalition in 2010, then they were punished for that. They were punished over the tuition fees.
Basically, is the punishment over?
Yeah.
Right, iNews now with the disturbing news that Mumsnet may have been infiltrated. I better log in as Mummy's Tired 4053 to warn them.
Yeah, it's Russia expected to meddle in UK election as regime targets forums like Mumsnet. So it's as a quick guide, if you see someone say something like, does your teenager just spend ages in his room? By the way, isn't Putin amazing? That might be a Russian bot. He's got to look out for these things. So they've targeted the poor old mums on Mumsnet. To be honest, Putin would probably be afraid of quite a lot of the people who post on Mumsnet because they're such, like, ultra-Karen psychopaths. But, yeah, I don't
like that word. I don't
you like Karen?
Yeah,
I just brought it back.
It's like a misogynistic term.
It is, that's why I brought it back just there. It just came into my head. But look, they've integrated themselves into online communities.
I'm not saying that Karens don't exist.
You just don't like it.
Just don't like the word, yeah.
Do you feel sorry for women that are actually called Karen that might be light and
No,
frothy?
it's not that. I just think it's used as a way of being misogynistic.
Why are you being such a
Karens.
Karen about it?
Maybe that's what it is. It's self-defense. Sorry, Nick, I didn't mean to...
No, you'll be asking to see the manager in a minute. That's what Karens do. Well... Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I mean, Facebook took action on 691 million fake accounts, which shocked me, between October and December 2023. I mean, that is a lot. Most of them are just kind of rubbish and obvious, aren't they? But some of them are sophisticated Mumsnet posters. They start with the stuff about your teenage kid. They end up, before you know it, you're invading Ukraine.
Well, this is it.
So it begins with Waitrose and ends up in Warsaw.
But this is it, Bruce. In the actual article itself, it doesn't have any evidence that Russia has infiltrated Mumsnet. Surely this is fake news.
But it also, I remember the 2014 independence referendum up the road, and apparently Russia was all over that and all that kind of thing. But I never saw any evidence and didn't understand as to why they would want to be bothered.
They love getting involved, don't they? Right, Bruce, before we go to the break, will this Observer story inspire people to put in an extra order of toilet paper and pasta?
Well, this is the thing. Patrick Vallance, who is no relation to the ex-singer Holly Valance, says that another pandemic is absolutely inevitable. Now, interestingly, as I did travel down here, I have seen a lot more people wearing masks again. I know.
Are you sure you didn't walk through some pro-Palestine protest?
No, it was an airport lounge.
Oh, really?
And they had, But then the thing that really kind of annoyed me was it was in Edinburgh airport and someone had a hole in their mask so they could vape.
Ridiculous.
A couple of things really annoy me about it. One is he says we're not ready yet. But, of course, last time we abandoned our plans anyway, so the question of readiness becomes moot. So,
exactly. That's the thing. Why aren't we ready then?
Right, it's
because
mad.
We've been through it, so... Why?
And the other thing that bothers me is when he says another pandemic's inevitable, we've had diseases throughout history. What I'm concerned is that he means another kind of pandemic event, which means finding ways to keep you in your house, take away all your freedoms, you know, and then this is what the sort of neoliberal culture loves to do. Their ultimate fantasy is euthanasia, so they can just quietly kill you. But they love to sort of change society and take your freedoms. If it just meant a disease, I'd be worried. But I'm more worried when they say we're planning for another...
Well, specifically, the WHO, as they say here, push for a pandemic accord, which some of the early drafts that we saw of this kind of just basically gives them control of the world.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to get too conspiracy-ridden, but it does seem that, you know, in some of those first drafts, that they can kind of order governments to take certain actions.
Yeah.
And it's not like their record was spotless during COVID.
No. And they have to rule out lockdowns in the future, but you just think they would easily do it again.
Right, well, we're halfway, we are in the groove, and we've got some great stories for you in the next section, including BBC journalist rape denier, Iranian attack in London, and Greenpeace don't like rice. See you in 2.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather. Over the next 24 hours, it turns increasingly unsettled. We'll see cloud and outbreaks of rain across the country, and that's all thanks to low pressure, which is going to dominate the rest of the bank holiday weekend, bringing areas of rain and heavy and thundery showers as well. We've already got rain this evening pushing in from the southwest. This will continue to drift northwards as we head into the early hours. Rain across eastern areas also continuing to push northwards into parts of Scotland. Some of this will be heavy at times, but with a lot more cloud around, it will be generally quite mild overnight, temperatures remaining in double figures. But it does mean generally a grey, damp start across the UK Sunday morning with outbreaks of rain. However, northern Scotland, there will be some sunny spells first thing in the morning before cloud and rain pushes northwards from the south. As you can see across southern Scotland into Northern Ireland, a cloudy start, outbreaks of rain, but temperatures in double figures. Cloudy across the central swathe of England and Wales, but some brighter skies already pushing into southern parts of England and Wales there, and they will continue to push northwards as we move through the morning. However, as the temperatures start to rise, we'll see the clouds bubble up and we'll see heavy showers across much of England and Wales and southern parts of Scotland as we move through into the afternoon. Some rumbles of thunder possible, local disruption, generally staying cloudier for parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland here with outbreaks of rain. A little cooler for most, temperatures generally 17 to 20 Celsius, feeling a little warmer in the southeast compared to Saturday. On Monday, another day of sunny spells and showers for many. Some of these will be heavy at times, some longer spells of rain possible as well for parts of Scotland, and it stays unsettled Tuesday into Wednesday with further spells of rain in places. Temperatures near average.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Nick, let's get straight into the Sunday Telegraph and someone who is too anti-Semitic for the Workers' Party. Is it Hitler?
Well, I just want to say first off, Mr. Galloway is known for being quite litigious, so I think he's a great guy.
I'm just saying the Workers' Party.
Oh. They're great guys as well. Anyways, George Galloway's party drops candidate over anti-Semitic remarks, and this was Hassan Shahin, no idea how to pronounce it, sorry, don't really care, but he claimed that a coven of Jews had seized control of America and that Jews have been punished throughout history for killing Jesus Christ. I mean, there's some points in there, but yeah, a bit much. And then some of the other He
said, if it's pretty much for you as well. I mean,
I've got a line, Josh. I'm not a monster. He describes Zionism as a combination of filth selected from different countries, and it's shocking stuff. It didn't meet the high standards of Mr. Galloway's party, so they immediately, of course, got rid of him.
Yes, I mean, the full extent of this anti-Semitism, and also his hilarious kind of denials afterwards. Go, oh no, I just posted a video of an American. But I wonder if there are going to be, because there's evidence of other people within the Workers' Party also being anti-Semitic, and I'm wondering if them kicking this guy out is going to actually kind of backfire to some of their core voters who are anti-Semitic.
Well, yeah, I'm just surprised that there was the candidate for Putney. It just seems...
Putney's changed.
Apparently it has. I went to the same school as George Galloway.
Did you?
So that's not a ringing endorsement for education, is it?
You're both great orators.
There we go.
You're both on telly a lot.
Yeah, but I've never been a cat in public, although I have met Rula Lenska.
OK.
She was nice.
And you do want to topple the government.
Getting back to my question, do you think, Bruce, that this will have any impact on the people who are likely to vote for them, going, oh, look at you, you're owned by big Zionist companies, or whatever it is, that they would do the fact that they've actually kicked out someone for being anti-Semitic?
I'm not necessarily sure it will. I think if people want to vote for them, they'll vote for them.
Regardless.
Yeah.
What do you
think?
think?
People are really blind.
No, I see your point that they'll be like, oh, they're selling out. If the vehement kind of radical anti-Zionists could see it that way, I suppose. But some people might like it equally. They might say they can kind of be serious as a party.
Yeah, I just feel sorry. There's going to be a couple of full-time journalists over the next 6 weeks who all they're going to be doing is going through the... how many are they putting up for election?
Well, if you want to be really fair...
All of their social media accounts.
I suppose what happened with Reform UK was similar in that they said, look, we don't have the infrastructure to vet all our candidates, and then they were cancelling them, sometimes wrongly, but sometimes rightly, perhaps. But as a result of pressure groups and articles like this, obviously this guy's said some awful things. But the smaller parties do run into this problem. They don't have the money, so they accept people willy-nilly.
Yeah, this guy, Mr. Shashi, he lavished praise on the leader of Hezbollah. And it was like time travel to Corbyn era. Bruce, more Telegraph, more anti-Semitism. This time for the BBC.
Yes.
I am shocked.
A BBC journalist liked tweet describing reports of Hamas rapes as nonsense. The broadcaster's social media guidelines state that the reporters have to have a particular responsibility to uphold the BBC's impartiality, and this was a BBC Wales journalist, Shazia Ali, allegedly liked a post published on the 8th of October that said, and I quote, "No one raped anyone, stop this nonsense."
So this is rape denial, Nick.
It's
from
shocking.
the BBC. This isn't even BBC Arabic or BBC World. Not that it excuses that, but this is like it's BBC Wales.
Yeah. Wales has changed. Yeah, look. I clicked on her profile to see who it was, and she protected it. Fair enough. I don't encourage ever piling on anyone online. No. But she seemed you look quite young, which I say because there's a radicalism amongst younger people on this issue. We saw on October 7th, there was people like at Navarra Media saying it was a day of celebration. Incredibly sick, radical stuff. And this is very, very similar. She liked that one saying you all wanted decolonisation and land back, but then then you balk at whatever them actually doing it. All this decolonisation is always a violent phenomenon. She liked that. So this is the ideology unmasking itself, as we saw from October 7th onwards. We've seen what the radical left is really about, and elements of them are about. Yes, rape and violence is justified in the name of decolonisation because they're sick ideologues, basically.
Yeah. And, you say youth, I think that is part of it, but I'm just going to be real here. Shazia Ali, I'm going to make the assumption she's comes from a Muslim background, and the reality is there is a huge issue with anti-Semitism within Muslim culture. And I'm imagining that that's where it, frankly, came from, to the point where she's now a rape denialist. And also what we're seeing, Bruce, is hypocrisy from someone. She's saying, my passion for journalism is centred around telling real people's stories, giving coverage to BAME communities. Well, BAME, Middle East, that includes Israelis, and over half of Israelis are people of colour. So this is the frustrating thing for me, anyway, is this hypocrisy within this kind of purity and not being able to recognise their own racism.
No, I agree, but my point is, as a journalist, you would have to remain impartial, so I just don't understand why she got herself into this at all.
The funny thing, the question is, did the BBC see these tweets and then go, she's perfect? Or was it the other way around? I'm not sure.
Well, there's been a bunch of other journalists who have been identified, and they still have their jobs, and with discussing anti-Semitism, and BBC have done seemingly nothing. Let's move on to the Mail on Sunday, Nick, and Iranian asylum seekers meet those they were trying to escape and who we let in as well.
It's 4 people have been injured and 1 has been arrested after supporters of the Iranian government clashed with dissidents protesting outside a London vigil to President Raisi, who died last week, of course, in a helicopter crash. So, yeah, look, it's this. We've imported the whole world's problems. This was in Alperton Lane in Wembley. There was this people like, hey, we love old Raisi and we're celebrating. And then other people were less keen on him, and so started a kind of counter protest. And this is it. This is the country now.
Well, this is a little bit of Wembley, but if you see
all foreign conflicts are kind of played out on our streets now. That's all I mean, and everything to do with Israel, Palestine, now Iran.
Well, Bruce, did you see the footage with this?
I haven't seen the footage.
It's pretty horrific. I mean, in this woman, she's on the floor. She's been kicked whilst on the floor by multiple men.
Really? I didn't see that.
One man was arrested, and there was about at least 20 men involved here. So again, this is the police seemingly failing to do their job. I understand they may make later arrests, but
I didn't see that. That does sound horrific. Sorry.
Yeah, it was really, and seeing some of this film afterwards of people in the hospital and what happened to them, and these were thugs. Okay, let me ask you this, Bruce: if some of those people who took part in this physical attack turn out to not be British citizens, should they be kicked out?
Yes. No, I don't know. Well, yeah.
No,
I mean,
you were right the first time.
OK, just give me a moment, thank you, because I'm thinking. The fact of the matter is, if they have attacked anyone and they happen... Yeah, I probably would agree with you.
Love it, love it.
There you go.
There we go, good. Yeah, Bruce, proof now that The Observer is different from The Guardian in that they actually criticise China.
Well, yes, but China has not taken this well because they've done a changing rooms on a mosque.
Yeah.
And they've made it more kind of Chinese.
The word they use here, what was it again? They use it loads of times, don't they? Sinicification. Sinicize.
So that means to make it Chinese or to inject some chinoiserie. Is that a thing? Is that an term? Yeah.
Well, not the second one, but the sinicize.
I think it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it sinicize or sinicize?
I think it's sinicize.
I just want to make sure when people are at work on Monday and they're talking to their friends about this story and they're like, I was watching Headliners and they were talking about Sino-ization.
Yeah. Well, they're learning. Yeah. It's... Go on, sorry, carry on.
No.
Because I didn't think you'd done the main story. OK, yeah. Well, I was just going to say my point about this, which is that I'm against China doing things like demolishing churches, right? Because they're very anti-Christian as well. But then a sort of part of me begrudgingly respects them for defending their own culture at all costs. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm torn on this. But then the further nuance is it China or is it just the CCP? Because there's a big difference between the Communist Party and what sometimes gets called here's another term for you, the Lao Beijing, which means old 100 surnames, which is kind of a very poetic way of referring to the ordinary people of China. So there's also a distinction to be made there. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce, it's you saw the photos. Did you manage to see the photos? There's an argument here that it's an eradication of, by doing it via architecture and buildings, you are eradicating a culture. And of course, this isn't the Uyghurs. This is a different ethnic Muslim group. But there's been arguably a genocide going on with the Uyghurs that has been also kind of ignored. And this kind of, I don't know, this level of control and also putting cameras within the mosque. I mean, it's intimidation, right?
So this is what they are calling the Sinification of Islam.
Yes, basically, and to control it.
I didn't realise they were putting cameras in the mosque.
In the mosque as well, yeah.
Right.
I don't know. It's a complicated story, but I think it's good that it's been covered. Right, one more section to go, where we get a friend of the show to answer questions on sex, and has AI mastered the art of deception?
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Well, we're delighted about this because the boss of JD Wetherspoon has credited demand for fashionable Guinness as the pub chain reported a jump in sales.
Now, Guinness has benefited from a boom in demand over recent years, shaking off its association with rugby lads and old men to appeal to a much younger audience and loads more women.
We've got our Guinness here.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
I'm not sure about this boozing on air at this time of the morning, but I'll let you off on this occasion.
As it's you, Tim, as it's you. Now, Guinness is an acquired taste for many people, so I'm surprised it's become so popular.
Yes, it is a real surprise. I think it's always been a popular drink among the demographic you mentioned, the older guy. There's about 80 or 90% of pub trade over the last 30 or 40 years, and probably longer, are a similar range of products. But there's a varying 10, 20% according to fashion. You had vodka Red Bull 20 years ago. You had an Irish cider poured over ice, which came from no one knows where. You had Alco Pops. So there's an unpredictable range of products which have been the fashion of the moment. But the fashion of the moment, very unpredictably this time, is Guinness. And no one knows why. As you say, it's an acquired taste. Young people tend not to like it. Most of the fashionable drinks over the decades have been quite sweet. And Guinness obviously isn't. So, yes, I think the Guinness brewery, St James's Gate in Dublin, they'll say it's brilliant marketing. But like the rest of us, they rely a bit on luck.
Sunday nights on GB News. From 6, Neil Oliver. At 7, it's Free Speech Nation with Andrew Doyle. At 9, Mark Dolan. And at 11, get set for the week ahead with headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Isabel Webster. Thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, and kicking off with The Observer for a story about Greenpeace possibly causing hunger, Nick.
Yes, a catastrophe. Greenpeace blocks planting of life-saving golden rice. It's golden in so many ways because it can save lives. And this is classic green stuff. It's like how George Monbiot hates farms. It's a classic luxury beliefs because basically the Philippines need this rice to save lives, but it's been blocked because of safety issues. But scientists have said there's no evidence that it is actually dangerous. And they say it will be overturned, but in the meantime, it'll have profound impacts and while we're waiting for it to be overturned because people are going to die. And this is the problem. It's one of these luxury green beliefs. It's like, no, people need food, guys.
Well, this is it. I mean, there's a vitamin A deficiency, which causes morbidity and mortality.
Infections, childhood blindness.
Exactly. So, Bruce, I thought the whole point about Greenpeace was follow the science. And you have 150 scientists here, and I think Nobel Prize winners as well. No, 150 Nobel laureates signing an open letter attacking Greenpeace. So why aren't Greenpeace following the science then?
I think because Greenpeace just do what they want to do for whatever reason. Is that not the...
No, that's a very, very good answer.
And also, can I ask, is this rice going to be in a microwavable packet for convenience?
Well, if it's not, I will not be...
Exactly. Yeah. Come on.
Mail on Sunday. And Bruce, I feel like the story really gets me.
OK. So this is in the Mail on Sunday, as you said, and here's what happens to the human body when you don't enjoy a horizontal refreshment or some solo activity, if you catch my drift. Okay. And what it's saying here is Gen Z of legal age...
catch anyone's drift.
Gen Z of legal age are having less sex than any generation in history, and experts warn it could lead to their genitalia shrinking. Now, Dr. Tara, I can't even begin to pronounce that, but it's funny, the end of her name says porn. The sex and relationship expert told the dailymail.com, that bastion of fact, that men who are sexually inactive active, I don't know if that's you, Nick, can experience a very rare condition called penile atrophy, where the penile tissue becomes less elastic, causing shrink 1 or 2 centimetres. So a lot going on there.
Gorilla size, which is the size of a gorilla.
For 1 or 2 centimetres.
Yeah, it turns out that's the size of a gorilla. I think we've cancelled that story. But anyway, yeah, it's shocking. I mean, look, it's saying, people get depressed and anxious and if they don't have sex. What about monks? They're so happy all that they're fine.
Yeah, but maybe they... I don't know, but yeah, now you've made me think that all monks have small willies.
No, they just don't need... It's a lie. It's fine.
I think they're really angry. Or they could be... Like, that humming could be another sound. Anyway, Nick, heading over to The Independent now for a truly baffling question about the friend of the show.
Well, this is Sophie Hagen hadn't slept with anyone in 3,000 days and wanted to know why.
Why, Nick?
Well...
Why didn't you sleep with her?
Well, I feel terrible covering this because I know Sophie. I used to know her in the pre-woke days. She was a very funny comedian, and then she became woke. She became woke, and she became they. Yeah. And of course, I'm sure it was a totally sincere conversion. It happened to help her career, which was a bonus. But so I feel weird talking about it. But the story is about how they have not had sex for a long time, which is even longer than me, and I've been actively avoiding women on purpose, so I'm shocked. I mean, it's like 8 years, isn't it, if you add it up?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long time.
What do you think about this, Bruce? I mean, this sounds like a torture. She's written a book, Will I Ever Have Sex Again? This sounds like torture, a whole book with they-them pronouns.
Do you think this is just to promote the book? And do you think that she's been getting it and just not saying? Do you think this is all a hoax?
Wow, so you're saying some fake news from Sophie?
I don't know, Sophie.
No, I don't. Well, she said she was having an affair for years, but they never touched. It's like, is she the stalker in Baby Reindeer?
But why would you... Do you know what I don't understand about the stalker in Baby Reindeer? A man was sexually assaulted, and yet they're going after a woman who appeared on a Piers Morgan show, which I don't understand. Yeah. I've never met her, I don't know, but if she has had an affair, I mean, that's not a ringing endorsement of decent morals.
No, indeed. Observer next, and Bruce. Now, computer games are good.
If you're deaf.
Oh, OK. Yeah.
OK?
OK.
So virtual reality gaming helps UK's deaf children to understand speech. Scientists have found that immersing kids in computer games can train their brains to localise sound better. It's to do... The project is known as Bears, not the kind of bears that I hang around with. It's for both ears. It's aimed at youngsters who have been given twin cochlear implants because they were born with little or indeed no hearing. OK, so this is great, right? More technology, bettering people's lives, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I want to provide balance, but it's quite hard to be anti-deaf. Although you did manage to mock them for years in your stand-up act.
Still do my joke about people. Right, The Sun has a story, Nick, about deceptive AI, but this could have been written by it, and it's actually a double bluff.
Yeah, its AI has already mastered deception, as scientists warn chatbots have now learned to manipulate and cheat humans. So it's basically Machiavellian Terminators, in case you weren't worried enough about AI. Yeah, the fact it can... Basically, it says that AI can perform premeditated deception, so it's essentially evolved and become a woman.
Oh, no, you didn't!
Wow.
Bruce, what do you want to say before we finish the show?
Cancel
night. Very briefly, The Star, why 1 inch is plenty for burly gorillas whose Todger size could explain problem in men.
Well, there we go. That's brilliantly covered there. The show's nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Sunday's front pages. We have The Mail on Sunday. Rishi, I'll bring back national service. The Sunday Telegraph, PM, I'll bring back national service. The Observer, Reeves slams reckless Sunak over 64 billion tax cut pledge. The Sunday Times, Tory plan for all 18-year-olds to do national service. Sunday Express, Rishi, I'll bring in national service. And finally, the Daily Star Sunday, did the earth move for me? And those were your front pages. That is all we have time for. Thank you very much to my guests, Bruce Devlin and Nick Dixon. We are back tomorrow at 11 p.m. with Leo, Kerry and Paul. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, stay tuned for breakfast. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather. Over the next 24 hours, it turns increasingly unsettled. We'll see cloud and outbreaks of rain across the country, and that's all thanks to low pressure, which is going to dominate the rest of the bank holiday weekend, bringing areas of rain and heavy and thundery showers as well. We've already got rain this evening pushing in from the southwest. This will continue to drift northwards as we head into the early hours. Rain across eastern areas also continuing to push northwards into parts of Scotland. Some of this will be heavy at times, but with a lot more cloud around, it will be generally quite mild overnight, temperatures remaining in double figures. But it does mean generally a grey, damp start across the UK Sunday morning with outbreaks of rain. However, northern Scotland, there will be some sunny spells first thing in the morning before cloud and rain pushes northwards from the south. As you can see, across southern Scotland into Northern Ireland, a cloudy start, outbreaks of rain, but temperatures in double figures. Cloudy across the central swathe of England and Wales, but some brighter skies already pushing into southern parts of England and Wales there. And they will continue to push northwards as we move through the morning. However, as the temperatures start to rise, we'll see the clouds bubble up and we'll see heavy showers across much of England and Wales and southern parts of Scotland as we move through into the afternoon. Some rumbles of thunder possible, local disruption, generally staying cloudier for parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland here with outbreaks of rain. A little cooler for most, temperatures generally 17 to 20 Celsius, feeling a little warmer in the southeast compared to Saturday. On Monday, another day of sunny spells and showers for many. Some of these will be heavy at times, some longer spells of rain possible as well for parts of Scotland, and it stays unsettled Tuesday into Wednesday with further spells of rain in places. Temperatures near average.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the biggest cash prize we've given away to date. An incredible £20,000 that you could use however you like. And because it's totally tax-free,